So Jase Onfroy, more commonly known as XXX, would have turned 27 years old today. Yes, 27, and as I get older every year while I'm going through my 20s, I always sit back and appreciate how much X really accomplished while only living to be 20, despite all the hardships and controversies he went through. And I can only imagine now how big X would have been in music in 2025, or what type of songs he would be making right now at a more mature, developed age, as he would have progressively elevated it to something that we can only imagine. I'm pretty confident in saying that X at 27 would have been a completely different person than when he was at 16, 17, 18, or 19 years old. Yes, we all know that X was a young man who had many adversities and struggles he was facing, and was far from a perfect individual with some of his actions that can never be excused. But I feel like the biggest tragedy of X dying so young was not necessarily the music aspect of him becoming bigger than he could have been, or what type of music he would have been making, or how many classic albums he would have had by now. But the saddest part about X's story was his redemption arc he never got to fulfill. We've only seen bits and pieces of it towards the end of his life as he was trying to evolve into a better person. He started this helping hand challenge, giving back to the people in need. Any situation or beef that he had with somebody at that point in his life, he wanted to diffuse it and not be on bad terms with anybody.
Be the best artist that you guys can be. Do something for the community. Make yourselves look better. Make yourself, if you wanna reap all the glory, do something for the community. Be the best person that you can be. That's the only thing that I wanted to say.
Even the last thing he posted the day he died, he wanted to start a charity event for Broward.
Use your power to better the world. Go do a food run. Like, take care of the homeless.
Like the great Quincy Jones once said regarding Tupac only living to be 25, with many people having a negative view on him and judging his character. Had Oprah Winfrey passed away at 25, she would have died as a relatively unknown TV anchor woman. If Malcolm X died at 25, he just would have been known as a street hustler named Detroit Red, far from the black revolutionary that we know today. And Quincy himself said had he died at 25, he just would have been known as a trumpet player and an aspiring composer, far from the legendary Motown producer and the man responsible for Michael Jackson's most iconic albums. But with all these artists that passed away so young who also lived short tragic lives, as young as they were, at least they all got to live past 20. Tupac died at 25, Biggie Smalls died at 24, Amy Winehouse died at 27, Young Dolph died at 36, Nipsey Hussle died at 33, Selena, she died at 23, Eazy-E died at 30, Mac Miller died at 26. Like every artist that died young at least got to live past 21, while X hardly ever made it to his 20s. And again, this is not me taking anything away from those artists at all, cause no matter what, they all died young, full of unknown potential. But the point I'm trying to make is for everybody to be so judgmental towards X and to view him harshly for the things he did as a teenager while growing up in a harsh environment, not to mention that he only had 20 years to live, is pretty unfair. Even still to this day, there's a lot of negative hit pieces on him years after his death.
Back in 2018, DSPs, Spotify, Apple, they cancel out XXXtentacion. They cancel out XXXtentacion because he did something with women, right? Where they feel like Pitchfork, all this shit, released his nasty story saying they abuse of women. XXXtentacion was such a fucking force where if you took off XXXtentacion's music off of DSPs, his fans went ape shit. You can't take an XXX off and not take an R. Kelly off. You can't take an R. Kelly off and not take a Michael Jackson off. Yeah. You can't take a Michael Jackson off and not take a Tupac Shakur off.
But despite all that, X's impact still remains intact. And you know why? Cause the legacy he left behind was unlike his peers. Though his time in the spotlight was short, it was nothing less than polarizing, dropping back-to-back classic albums like 17 and Question Mark, which were two albums that helped him rebrand himself. From an underground rage-filled artist to a vulnerable mainstream hitmaker. His music wasn't just for hits and streams and for people to go on about their day while listening to it, but it was a real meaning and story behind it, whether it was for the good and a bad. And I feel like people love X the most was because of his defiant personality, where he was outspoken about everybody he felt the type of way about.
You often find your purpose and you reach for the sky. People often tell you that it's not possible. Now listen, standing right here, right fucking now, how many motherfuckers you think told me this wasn't possible? Huh? Now let me ask you something. Do you think you can be be right here or right where the fuck you want to be? Let me hear it!